In this video, we'll explore and elaborate some of the alternative solutions of data warehouse that we can implement today apart from Azure SQL Data Warehouse. Now, there are various alternatives of data warehouse that we can implement today. Deciding the appropriate alternatives to the data warehouse can be dependent on volume, it can depend on content, and it can also depend on the query requirement. After we've identified these factors, we can appropriately decide the data warehouse alternatives that best suit our requirement. One of the problems with existing data warehouses is that they are structured in nature. In other words, we need predefined schema, and these schema must be loaded into the data warehouses before we can perform analytics. Since the schema are systemized, when they're written to the memory, they can lead to certain complexities. An alternative to such approach is the data lake. With data lakes, the schema are defined when the data is queried using API or SQL. This is also known as schema on read. Schema on read typically requires less rigid upfront data modeling. We are essentially relieved from data modeling since data modeling is done when we execute queries. Another alternative is HTAP or in-memory DBMS. HTAP is short for Hybrid Transactional Analytical Processing. HTAP is different from the traditional data warehouses since they include or collaborate the strategy of OLTP feed and OLAP capabilities. And since they are facilitated in memory, we also call it as memory DBMS. The third and final approach is OLAP-style analysis with self-service tools. We can provision self-serving tools that can help us perform analytics on the data we are curating. Now let's explore the data lakes further, so we can understand how they're implemented. When implementing data lakes, we'll be ingesting data from OLTP databases, as indicated in the sample implementation figure. The data lake will contain the ingested data in its native form. Now, whenever there's a query made to the data lake, or whenever